present here. I, Komal Singh, on behalf of FIPI PDEU student chapter, would like to welcome you all to the workshop. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. I would like to invite our speaker, Mr. Jayesh Chahar, Reservoir Engineer, Data Analyst at Dialytics. He pursued his BTech from UPES Dehradun and MTech from ISC. This is going to be a 3-day workshop where our speaker will explain us about the use of Python and machine learning in oil and gas industry. You will get the basic concepts of computer programming and machine learning required for implementing the algorithms used, along with understanding the end-to-end industry life cycle and flow of data in the industrial operations of the oil and gas industry. An online quiz will be conducted on the last day of the workshop based on the topics that are discussed. So during the session, everyone is requested to please keep their mic muted while listening to avoid unnecessary disturbances. So now, without any further ado, I would like to request Mr. Jayesh Chahar to please begin with the session.
Hello. Hello. Thank you, Komal, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I hope you are all safe. So, in this webinar, we will start with basics of Python and show some of the examples that are used in oil and gas industry. So, the main motive behind this webinar is that you should learn that how the programming languages work. It's not about only Python. If you are good in any one of the programming language, whether that is MATLAB or Fortran, that will be really helpful for you. Because in the coming time of years, there is a lot of digitalization going in each and every industry. Same can be said for our oil and gas industry also. And you all are familiar with the simulator softwares like CMG, Eclipse, and all those things. So you should know how the working inside them is going on. You should know the working behind the calculations. Now you are just entering the numbers and you are getting the values, but you should know how the working is going on. So once so the basic petroleum engineering is also important part, and that together that added with the Python will make you unbeatable. So okay, so we will start from Python. Today we will cover Python from scratch. We will see Python syntaxes and all. And after that, from tomorrow, we will be learning some libraries of Python that will be used for data analysis. And on the third day, we will see some of my mini projects that are done on oil and gas industry. Okay then. So starting from the very basic, the first function, the first thing in Python or any programming language is printing hello world. So in Python, the syntax you can see is very simple compared to those like C and C++, where you have to do many other things like conio.h and stdio.h. Here you just need to write print function and write whatever you want to get printed. Like here we are using hello guys. So here hello guys is printed. Now if you want to print something that come in next line, you should use the backslash and end. Here you can see that after using the backslash and end, the PDEO will come in next line. Okay, after that we will move on single value data types. So first of all, what are data types? These are the basic things that we encounter in our daily life. As you already know that what is an integer and what is a float. Float is actually the numbers that are having a decimal values. Here you can see that if we are writing only 7, it will be considered as integer. But if you are writing 7.0, decimal has been came here. So that will come in the float data type. The other data type most commonly used is Boolean. Booleans are basically used for testing some values that whether the values are true or false or some conditions are satisfying or not. So in those cases, Booleans are used. And the other data type example is strings. Strings is a set of characters that can also contain space, numbers, alphabets, everything. Strings are enclosed by double quotes. So example, see here, in the first part we are writing only 7, but if I close this 7 by the double quotes, then it will not be integer anymore, it will be a string. So we will start with some mathematical operations. As Python is, you can also use Python as your calculator. while you are solving some petroleum problems or something, try to use Python for calculation of those problems, or try to convert those problems in some type of Python algorithm, so that can also be your one of a mini project in Python of oil and gas. You can see that. So these are the basic mathematical operations like addition. You can add directly in the first code of line. We are adding two integers, 4 plus 5. So the output will be given as an integer only. As you can see, it's 9. In the next line of code, we are adding 4.0 plus 5. Now the 4.0 is a float data type. So when you add a float to an integer, the resultant data type in the output you will get is also a float. So you can see here a point decimal value is coming 9.0. Same case is applied with subtraction also. Hello. Hello. Okay.
Yeah, Jay, you're audible.
Yeah. There was some echoes, I think. The same case applies for subtraction also. As you can see, when you subtract a float, you subtract a float from an integer, you will get a float. And similarly, similarly multiplication and division is also done. So here you can see that when we are dividing 625 by 10, the inputs are integers, but the output is float. As this is basic law of mathematics only. Okay. Other than these basic mathematical operations, there are some other operations that are used in Python, like exponent, or you can say the power, how to the power 4 or like that. For using the exponent operation, we used double star in Python. Here you can see 5 double star 2 will give us output of 25. It's squaring the 5. And similarly, the other one of most important and used operator is integer division. It will give the integer part of the division. When you divide 26 by 5, it will we will get something like 5 point something. So the integer part will be given by this operator, and this can be used by using double slashes. As you can see, 26 double slashes 5 will give us output of 5. The next operator that is commonly used is to get the remainder. Like here in the above code, we are getting the integer divisor value. Now if we use a percentage symbol in place of these double backslashes, we will get the value of the remainder. 26 percentage 5 will give us a remainder of 1 value. Okay, so now the next thing comes is strings. Are there any doubts still? No, I don't think there will be. Or can we carry on? Okay, so the next thing we will discuss is strings. Strings are anything that are surrounded by double quotes. That will come in strings, or you can also use single quotes also. Example, I have shown this example above, that if you are writing 6, that will be an integer type. But if you are writing 6.0, that will be a float type. But you are using double quotes or single quote, that will become a string. So now let's come to one more problem, that like you want to print, hey, there's you. So while we print this, we will get an error, because this printing operator is saying that only we need to print up to here, as the single quotes, so hey there is surrounded by single quotes, and that's why the next thing is giving us error. So to overcome this problem, you need to use backslash. Wherever you want to use a quote, like you want to use a post office as or something like that, use a backslash in the string. Like this whole thing is a string, use a backslash there, so that the string is not breaking. Now when you use a backslash and then type post office as, you will get a output of hey there's you. Similarly, now we will see how the operations occur on string. Like if we want to add two strings, what will be the output? You can see here we are adding petroleum plus engineering, so we are getting a output of petroleum engineering. Similarly, when we multiply string with some value, numerical value, we will get the output of that numerical value types times of the string. Like spam, when we are multiplying spam with 3, we are getting spam 3 times. Now here this is a good example. You will see the difference between the integer and string, that how the mathematical operations will behave differently for integer and a string. As you can say, for the first line we are multiplying 4 with a 3 and both are integers, so we are getting an output of 12. But in the second case, you can see that we have surrounded this 3 by single quotes. So now this is a string. This is not an integer anymore. And this rule of multiplication will be applied here, and we will get the output of 4 times 3, not 12. Okay, now then this type method is used to get the type of our integer, type of our variables or anything. If we want to check that what is the type of this 4 into 3, just return type and give the input 4 into 3, it will give output. Like here I have shown that type of 2 is integer, but type of this thing 4 into 3, where 3 is a string, this will be a string. So this is a string output. Now variables. Variables are variables in Python are like similar that we use in our daily lives for like when we are doing some mathematical work or something, like we use x and y. Similarly, variables in Python are also the same thing. And for initializing the variable in Python, the equal to sign is used. Yeah, so this is called initialization. What we have done, that the values from right hand side, these values right hand side are stored in the variables at left hand side. Like we have stored x equal to 6. Now whenever we will print x, we will get a value of 6 until unless we have changed the value of x. Like here we have initialized the value of x and y as 6 and 7. When we are printing x square minus 5 cube, we are getting minus 307. The output of 6 square minus 7 cube. Now there are some rules that will be that are applicable for the variable names. These are that variable names cannot start with a number or special character.
Hello, sir.
Hello, yeah.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but in previous code, if we want to find output of 2x minus 3y, then what should we write?
2x minus 3y.
Yeah, if we want to find out that.
Okay, just remove a single asterisk. Here we go.
Okay.
Double star are used for exponent for operation. Okay, and when you use single, that will be like your simple case only.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Now, can you tell me if I want to find out the output that if I'm dividing x by 4, what will be my remainder? So you will use which operator? Hello. Seems like he muted. Okay. So yeah, we were talking about the rules of variable names. So yeah, this one of the most important rule is variable names cannot start with a number or special character, but it can start with an underscore. Here you can see that if you are giving a variable name as 1a, that will be invalid. A1 will be valid as the first word is not a number. Similarly, a underscore 1 is valid, as well as underscore 1 underscore a is also valid. But if you are writing a space 1, that will not be valid. Okay. So now we will see how we take inputs in Python, as this is one of the main thing. You have to start taking input. After that only user will give input. You will perform your operations or whatever petroleum operation you want to calculate. So like here for taking the input, the syntax is very simple. Just write input and write the value that you want to get appear in front of user while he run this code. Like I have written here porosity input, entered the formation porosity. So when this code is run, then the the program will ask me to enter the value of porosity. Let us enter as 0.3. So whenever now I write porosity or print porosity, I will get the value of this 0.3 right here. You can see. But a thing you have to take care here is that this value stored in this variable is in strings. When you use the type function, you will get to know that this is a string. And while using this value, while using this porosity for further calculation in your code, you have to convert it in integer or float before applying the mathematical operations. As we have seen above that mathematical operations for string and float number or integer will be different, so it need to be converted into float or integer. Like here we can see that how that can be done. Like porosity, in just before of input I have added a float function. So what this will do, that this will convert the value of this porosity into float. Now when we run this type code, we will get output as a float. Similarly, now let's now here will come the string formatting. Like we have also given the input of permeability. Now we want to get output of we want to print the statement that formation porosity is 0.23 and permeability is 19.0. So we have to use variables. We have to use variables in printing this statement. So how this can be done? So there are three methods. That we can use for doing this. As if you write directly porosity here, if you remove this curly brackets and write only porosity, this 0.23 thing will be over, because this porosity has been converted into string. Before it was a variable, now it is converted to a string. Now when I run this code here, the formation porosity is a porosity. This we will get this output. So for solving this problem, we will use a curly braces here. By adding the curly braces, what will happen that in place of porosity, the value stored in the variable porosity will come, and the value stored in the variable permeability will come. Now when we run this code, you can see the output will be formation porosity 0.3 and permeability is 19.0. First method to solve this problem is this, in that using curly braces and the variable name. The other method is F formatting. Here what we have done, that we have just placed the curly braces where we want to get the values of our variable, and after that I have written dot format, and given the input as porosity and permeability. So at the places where there are curly braces, at the first place the porosity value will come, and at the second place the permeability value will come. So now if we run this code, the same output we will get. And the last method, and which I prefer the most, is this method by using commas. Okay, and see here, wherever you want to print the value of a variable, just and the string part there, add a comma there, and write the variable name which you want to get printed. Then again add the comma and add the next string part, and again at last added comma and the variable name. So this will also give a same output. So now any doubt up here?
Sorry to interrupt you, Jayesh. In line number 156,
Yeah.
why you have used print f/formation porosity?
Yeah, this is F formatting. This will be used while we are dealing with printing the variable names.
Okay, every
string.
time we need to print, we'll be using this.
No. Whenever you are using this process for printing the variables, like here in this second part, we are not using this F,
Yes.
because we have used here the dot format.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the third part, we also not used F, because we are using these commas, and we have distinguished between the string and the variable part. Here we are using f so that our machine, this Python will know that yes, at this point wherever I will see a curly bracket and the name written in that will be representing the variable, not a string. Okay.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Okay. Now, okay, so next single data type is Booleans and comparison. As the name itself is giving you telling you that what are these? These are basically conditions like true or false. We will see this with an example. Like here, I have written print 2 not equal to 3. Here you have to see that I have used this exclamation mark. This represent not in Python, that 2 not equal to 3. So yes, this is right. So it will give us a output of a true, and this will be a data type of Boolean. In the next part, we are using print 2 double equal to 3. So it will give yeah, this is not true. So it will give us a false output. Here you can see that we are using double equal to, not like in our physical world where we use only single equal to key, LHS equal to RHS, that is true. As in Python, we are using single equal to for initializing the variable value we have seen above. So if we have used the single equal to for Booleans and comparison, we will get a syntax error. Here you can see that. And also, if at some point of time you are getting the errors like this, just you can solve it by yourself. Just Google search this part. You will get answer to every error you are facing. Like in this is one of the great website is Stack Overflow, used by the professionals and all the computer engineers for getting the result of how to solve. If someone stuck anywhere, he can find answer is in Stack Overflow. Okay, back to our part. Now in Booleans, you can also use the conditions like or and. Or what all or will do that if in the provided condition, if any one of the condition is true, then it will give the output of a true. Like here you can see that we are printing 5 is greater than 3 or 3 is greater than 5. So this in this statement is true, but this is false. But in all, there need to be only one statement that is true for getting a true output. So we will get a true output here. While in AND statement, both the statement given or any number of statement given need to be fulfilled only, then we will get a true output. Otherwise, we will get a false output, as you can see here. Now, the next thing in Python is if else, as the name is suggesting. What if else will do? It will run a code below the if or else statement only if a certain condition are true, like we will see in the example below. Like here I've written this code that user will provide us the reservoir pressure, hydrostatic pressure, and fracture pressure. You can see that when I run the code, the machine will ask me the value of reservoir pressure. Let us say this is 1000 psi, and the hydrostatic pressure of mud, let us say it is a 1200 psi, and the fracture pressure of rock, fracture pressure, that we will take 1300 psi. Now when the next this code will be run, where there is a number of if and else loop, I have set it this in such a way that if hydrostatic pressure is greater than reservoir pressure, as well as hydrostatic pressure is lesser than fracture pressure, then it will be a safe zone for drilling. And if hydrostatic pressure greater than reservoir pressure, but hydrostatic pressure is also greater than fracture pressure, so as all of you guys know that there will be a risk of formation fracture, and our mud will get lost in the loss zone. And the last condition, that if hydrostatic pressure is less than reservoir pressure only, then there will be a risk of kick. It will be printed. So here we have set it the values 1000, 1200, and 1300 psi. After that, when I will run this code, it will say me that yes, this is a safe zone. Yeah, and the difference between if else and elif is that in elif you can provide a condition just like this, like I have provided the condition just like if, But if I am using only else here, like I have removed the elif, then I don't need to provide this condition here. If the other, if the upper two situations are not satisfied, then automatically the else loop will run. This is the difference between elif and else. Now the next thing is while loops. While loops are used. These are like while loops and for loops in Python. These are basically used for iteration part. Like we have to run a code again and again. So until the condition satisfy. In place of writing the code itself, we can use while loop or for loop for doing that thing. The code in the body of while loop is executed rapidly. This is called iterations. As you know, you have studied numerical methods, so you will be familiar with iterations. Like here, we will see an example of while loop. That particular do. Like firstly, I have initialized the value of a variable I equal to 1. So now after that, I used a while loop, that while I is less than equal to 5. And after that, there will be space. There will get automatically spaced of 4 spaces. This is known as indentation in the programming. That while I is less than equal to 5, print I. And after that, I will be replaced by I plus 1. Like in the first loop, what will happen that it will go in this statement that I is 1. Yes, I is less than equal to 5. So it will print 1. So here it is 1. After that, after this printing part, the I will be replaced by I plus 1. Means I will be replaced by 1 plus 1, 2. So again, the while loop will run. 2 is less than equal to 5. Yes, it is. It will print 2. Again, this thing happen at the point when I reached 5 and 5 is printed. And in the next step, I is set as 6 because 5 plus 1 will be 6. And after that, when this will come in the while loop again, that then it will see that the condition is not satisfied as 6 is greater than 5. So after that, it will print the final code that is not in this while loop, that is outside the while loop. As you can see here, that these 4 indentation part up to the point where this 4 indentation part is written, like let us write here one more thing, that I divide by 2. So this will be considered in while loop, and the outer part will be considered outside the while loop. So when this condition gets unsatisfied, the outer part will be printed. Okay. So while loop, one of a great application of while loop is that it can be used to stop iteration after a specific input. Like sometimes the password setting access denied or granted, that may be used that may be made by while loops only. As you can see here that I have written this, that password enter input the password. So I will enter the password A. So while password is not equal to ABCD, let us assume that password was ABCD, and I have entered the password as A. So until the point the password is not ABCD, it will print me a wrong password message, and again ask me to input the password. And once it will be equal to ABCD, then I have the password is correct, so I have the access granted. We will see here how this will work. Like I have entered the password as AS, so it will show me wrong password. Enter again. I have entered JK. It will show me again wrong password FR. It will go on until and unless I write the password as ABCD. Like here, I have entered the password as ABCD. Yes, access granted. Okay. So the next part is break. Break is used for breaking the while loop prematurely. We can break an infinite loop if some condition is satisfied. Like you are running an infinite loop. So if you want to stop the calculation of that infinite loop at some point where your situation is getting satisfied, at that point you can use break. Like here, I have initialized the value of variable I equal to 0. Now while true is a very easy way to make an infinite loop. Whenever you want to make an infinite loop in your calculation or anything, just you can use while true. While true, print I. So it will print me a I, and again that after this point I have added I have increased the value of I with 1. So this part is written. In the next point I have entered that if I is greater than 5. Now I wanted to print up till only 5 only. Now when I is greater than 5, print breaking and break. So this while loop will get break when I reaches 5, and after that the code outside the while loop will be executed. As you can see here, 0 1 2 3 4 5, at 5 it reached here, so it printed breaking, and the loop is break, and then finished is printed. Now similar, just like a break, there is one other thing, that is continue. Continue is used in while loop to jump back to the top of a while loop rather than stopping it there. So what it will do, that continue will stop the current iteration and continue the next one. So the code written below the continue will not run in that part. Like here you can see that I is initialized as 0, while I is less than equal to 5. I will get increased by 1, and if I is 3, the point when I is 3, I have to skip that point. You can see from the output. So if I is 3, then this loop will start running. Print skipping 3. So 3 is skipped, and after that continue. I return the continue. So in the condition when I is 3, then this loop is being executed. It will come here, it will see the continue. So it will not execute this line of code. It will directly go to this part again. So 3 is not printed, and I is set to 4, then 4 is printed. So this is the use of continue in while loop. Now these are some important things: multi-value data types and sequences that will be data are used in data analytics part a lot. So we will see how much type of data types are there in Python. Starting with the list, the most important one. Lists are used to store a number of items. You can store alphabets, strings, or floats, integer. You can store everything in the list. And for initializing a list, the square bracket are used. Lists are always enclosed in square brackets, and these are mutable. What does mutable mean? Mutable means that list can change their length, their elements, and element values. Like these are not a fixed type of value, like we will see here with the example. Like I have a list of porosities of different formations. I have stored their porosity values in list by using square brackets. So I want to know that what is the porosity of the first formation. So what I will do, that I will write porosity, the name of list porosity, and use square bracket, and this part is called as indexing. Use square bracket and will write 0. As in computer languages, generally in Python, the indexing, the number of index starts from 0. So this first value will be correspond to the 0 index. This will correspond to the first 1 index, 2 index, 3 index. So whenever I write porosity index 0, I will get the value of the porosity value of the first formation. Now if I write here porosity 3, I will get value of the last one. So yeah, empty lists and why lists are so important? Because empty lists are used heavily to populate it later during the code or program. See here, I have initialized an empty list containing no characters, no values. This is empty, and after that I have initialized the value of a variable I as 5. And after that a while loop is run, that while I is less than 10, the empty list, this empty list will be appended. I will tell you what append it is, it will come later. But append basically means that the value of I should be added in this empty list. So whenever I is less than 10, this empty list will be populated with the I value. And the next part, again the value of I is increased by 1. And at last, when this while loop is executed and I reached 10, I have got the output of the empty. So you can see that the list that was empty here now contains 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So this property of list can be used greatly for some calculations in while performing some operations or calculations. So we will see that later in our workshop only. Just remember this thing now. For now, just remember this thing. Now strings. Strings are also like a list of characters. Strings we have discussed earlier that anything that is written in double quotes or single quotes is known as string. Those strings are also like a list of characters. So indexing operator is also used on strings. Like I have stored a value of I have stored petroleum in a string name string. So when I will apply a indexing operator string one means this means that it will print the second letter of the word that is stored in the string. So it will print E. So this indexing operator is also valid on string also. Now list operations. What we can do with list operation, we will see that here. Items at a certain index can be reassigned. As I said before, that lists are mutable, so we can change the value of the item or value of the items present in the list. As here you can see, firstly I have initialized the a list A as 7, 2, 9, 8, and 10. It is containing these values. Now I want to replace the second value of my list with 999. I want to replace the 2 with 999. So what I have done, that I have indexed the second value A1 and keep initialize that as 999. So after doing this, whenever I print A, I will get a output of this 7, 999, 9, 8, and 10. This thing is done on in list only. The other data types that we will see in coming time, like tuples and all, we cannot replace the items in there, like here. Now addition of two list. Basically addition of two list will be like concatenating list. Here you can see that we are having two list A and B containing values 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. So whenever we add A plus B, it will not be like that one will be added with 4 or 2 will be added with 5. It will be like the both list will be concatenated, and a final list containing the values of the both list will be formed. Like here I have initialized a list C that is equal to A plus B. So when I print C, I will get a list containing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values values that are in both lists. Now, if I multiply a list with a number, what will happen? Like A is 1, 2, 3. If I multiplied it by a 3, so the list is repeated again, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Now the next part, this is in operator. Again, here you can see that the output is a Boolean. So we can use in operator to get to know that if certain thing or certain character is in our list or not. Like here in A there is 1, 2, 3. So I have used 1 in A. So it will give me value of true if 1 is present in A, and it will give false if 1 is not present in A. So this now this thing is looking simple, but in industries we have a list of we have a long list for, so on that so in that we cannot visualize values by looking at that. So we have to use in operators or not operators. And now again not operator will do the same thing, just opposite to in operator, that if 4 is not in A, that it will return true, otherwise it will return false. Now yes, this append thing that came earlier. Now we will get what this append do. Append basically adds an item to the end of an existing list. So see here we have a list of 1, 2, 3, and after that I have used a dot append 4. So what it will do, that it will add the value 4 at the end of the list A. So when I print A again, I will get output as 1, 2, 3, 4. So this 4 is added in A. Similarly, just like append, there is a other thing known as insert. So this is what this insert will do. This will insert a new item at any position in the list. Here we can also, like, we don't want to add 4 at the last of this string. We want to add 4 at the second position. So in that thing, in place of append, we will use insert. And the syntax of this is that like here the name of list will come dot insert, and the first parameter will be the index value, that at what index value you want to insert something, and the second parameter is the thing that you want to get insert. Like here I want to insert petroleum on the fourth index. Fourth index means at the fifth place. So the fifth place there was five before, but when I insert petroleum, the petroleum will be inserted at this place and 5 will be moved ahead by one index. So this is the application of insert. Now, the next thing is slicing, list slicing. Just like the name says, it helps us to cut a slice of a bigger list. Like you have a bigger list, see here like a superset containing values of 1 to 9 until 9. So if you want to use certain values from this list, like I want to use the first 4 values or 5 values in place of the whole list. So in that thing, we will use this slicing thing. So the syntax for slicing is that first the list name will come like here. See here, I have made a subset of this superset containing the first five values. So syntax will be simple. Syntax is simple. Just write the list name, the starting point, 0 representing the point starting from first point only. The stop point, fifth. Here I have written fifth index. So fifth index will be this 6 point. But this stop is not included in the final list. Start index will be included in final list. Stop will not be included. So subset will be superset 0 to 5. When I print this subset, I will get value from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In similar way, if you do not write a 0 as the first value, it will automatically, like here I have not written the 0, I have just written the 5 after these dots. So it will automatically take the first starting value from the 0 index only. When I print this subset 2, I will get the same output as I was getting in this subset. And also if you remove this 5 also, then the again full list will be get printed. Here you can see 1 to 9 will be printed. Now if you want to go to the end, in place of this is of 9 characters, in place of writing 0 to 8, you can also write 0 to -1, as the index of the last character will be -1. And similarly the second last character index will be -2. So in this way also indexes works. So the index of this from the ending side will be -9. So if you print superset -9, you will get output as 1, or you print a superset 0, then also you will get output as 1. So again you have here we have written that subset equal to superset up to the point -1. So this -1, the stopping point will not be included, as this is the rule of the list. So it will slice the superset up to this point, second last point. And similarly, if this thing I already discussed here, that if I remove both the values, the whole list will be sliced. Now reversing the list. So we can also reverse the list by taking the starting point as -1, the last point as starting point, and the end point I haven't mentioned, so it will automatically take the end point, and the difference, this step size. This step size is the thing that for how much difference you want to take. Like here in the subset 1, if I have used a step size of 2, so it will skip one value and get the other one. Now when I print this thing, you will see that it will get values from 0 to 5 with the step size of 2. That 1 is taken, 2 is not taken, 3 is taken, 4 is not taken, and 5 is taken. So then this is the use of step size. So when I set the value of step size as -1, so this means that the list will be executed in reverse order, I'm starting the list from the last value with a step size of -1. So this automatically reverses the whole list. So whenever I print this reverse list, I will get output of a reverse list. Yeah. And the same things that we have discussed till now in the list thing, the same thing can be applied to strings also. Like here I have initialized a variable named name as petroleum engineering. So if I print name index 0, it will give me P. Name index -1, it will give me the last point G.
Hello,
Name, hello.
sir.
Uh,
Hello,
hello, yeah. Hello.
sir. I had a question that for
Yeah.
every iteration, only with every step, it will either add or subtract, or it can multiply also with every step.
Sorry, can you repeat again? You are not audible.
So, like in every step, you have mentioned that it will either add or subtract. Like if I write -2, then in every step it will subtract two values, isn't it?
From here, at this point you are saying?
Yes, sir.
No,
So,
it is
so
just
instead of addition or subtraction, can't it multiply
It's
and
not.
divide?
It's not adding or subtracting the value. It's adding and subtracting the index value. It is just like a cursor. It moves by the step size. It will not subtract the minus from 1 from the 9. It is just like a step size. We are reversing the list. So by using -1, the difference of the index will be -1. Like if I take it as -2 here. Right? I've taken this as -2. So what will happen? The first point 9 will come and this 8 will be skipped and 7 will come. You will see now when right? Got it? You got it?
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, similar things can be used with string also. Yeah. So the next data type, next data structure is tuples. This is again, this is like a string only, but there are some difference between them. That the one most important difference is these are immutable. Immutable means that once the values of tuple is assigned, we can never change the value of tuples. We can never change the length of tuples. We cannot do anything with that. That is our final thing only. So these are done where these tuples are used in places where you want to take the original data and you don't want to manipulate the data with anything, so that this data is fixed only. And in like in list we are using the square brackets for tuples. Parentheses will be used. Okay. Like here you can see that I have initialized the tuple with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and hello. Last word is hello. So this is initialized, but you can get the SS with index just like the list only. Like I have written A index 4 at fourth index, there is hello. So whenever I run this, the hello will be printed. But you cannot change the value of list. Like here in above example, I showed you that we can also change the value at certain points in. Like here we change the value of first index in the list by 999. It is changed. But when you try to do this thing in a tuple, you will get an error. I tried to replace the fourth index, this hello, by 7. So I get this type error, which is saying that tuple objects do not support item assignment. Okay. So I think this will be clear. See, the next data structure is dictionaries. These helps to store the data with labels. Like you have a data of some rock, you have the data of that porosity, permeability, and lithology. So what dictionary will do, just like here, it is order of a key and values. The first thing will be is known as key. That yes, at in rock properties dictionary, the value of porosity is 0.25 and the value of permeability is 150. And lithology is limestone. These do not have orders, so you cannot use that indexing part here, as these are unordered. And these can be directly converted to data frames. This data frame is one of function of pandas that we will see tomorrow. But just remember this thing, that these dictionaries can be directly converted to data frames. Like if you have dictionaries of 100 rocks, like rock properties of rock 1, rock 2, rock 3, all having the same structure of porosity, permeability, lithology. So those 100 rock dictionaries can be easily be convertible to a pandas data frame. The data frames are just like Excel sheets only. So now, yeah, when you print, and also here for creating dictionaries, the curly brackets are used. Here curly brackets are used. So in place of index values like 0, 1, 2, 3, here you can use the key values. Like I want to get the value of porosity of my rock. So what I have done, that I have written the rock properties dictionary here and just inputted the key value of porosity. Whenever I do this, I will get the value of porosity 0.25. And similarly, also you can change here. You can change these can be changed just like list. These are not like tuple. Like I want to change the I want to change the lithology of my this rock property. That this at some point I realized that this is not limestone. Actually, this was a shale. So I wanted to change that in my dictionary. So just I had to do the thing that I will call the list and with square brackets give the value of the property that I want to value of the key that I want to change, like lithology, and initialize that with equal to shell. So whenever after this point, whenever I print this rock properties, I will get lithology as shell. Okay. Yeah. So the next data structure and the last one is sets. In sets also curly braces are used just like dictionaries, but there are not key values and key and values. These are just like list and tuples, those things. But the main thing in sets is that these can't contain duplicate values. These are unordered. These can't contain duplicate values, and these are faster than list. What do I mean by duplicate values? You can see here that I have made a set of A by using the curly brackets, and I have written the values as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 2. So whenever I print A, it will only give me unique values. It will not give me repeated values like I have used 1, 2, 2 again, but only it will give me unique values. So at the point in operations where you just want to check the duplicacy of data, you can use sets there for checking the duplicacy of data, or how many numbers are repeating, to get a rough idea about that thing. At that thing you at that place you can use sets. So this is a quick summary of these data structures we have studied until now. Dictionaries are a key value combinations. Mutable means you can change. You can the change of value of you can change the value, but keys are not mutable. You cannot change the value of keys, but you can change the value of value only. Lists are mutable. Empty lists are used heavily to populate it later during the program. Sets are used when there is some uniqueness of elements, and tuples are used when you don't want to your data to get changed. Okay. So now after that we will come on for loops. I wanted to discuss the data structures before coming to for loops, because these will be used in these for loops. So for loop is a tool which we can from which we can utilize the power of computers. Like you want to perform a same thing on a hundred input parameters. So in place of writing code again and again, you can just use for loop. These iteration are always performed on iterables. These iterables are list, strings, etc. These lists, set, dictionary. These are the not dictionary, list, set, and tuples. These are the iterables. So like see here, I have made a list of words that contains hello people of PDEU. So I want to get the print each value of these words. So in place of doing that, printing first index value, then second value, then third, fourth, I just use the for loop. Like for I inverts, I you can say I is a iterable thing, that for I inverts, for the first loop I will be this hello thing, the first part of the words, and it will print I, means print hello. For the second round of the loop, the I will be changed to people, so it will print people. Similarly, of and PDU. So in this way, you can use for loops. Like here, I have a good example of how we can use for loops. Like we have a list of specific gravities of some crude oils. Now you want to get the API gravities of those oils. You have a list of specific gravity. You want to get the API gravities of those oils. So in place of writing this code of changing the specific gravity to API gravity for each one, you can just use for loop. Like I used here for I in specific gravity, this list, calculate API, that will be 141.5 divided by I minus 131.5. And after that, print API gravity corresponding to specific gravity. Again, here I have done this string formatting here. I have shown above. API gravity corresponding to specific gravity. This is API, as the calculated API will be stored in this API variable, and I, this specific gravity, will be stored in this I variable. So whenever I run this code, it will automatically calculate, the for loops will automatically calculate the API gravity corresponding to the specific gravities in this specific gravity list. Like you can see here that API gravity corresponding to specific gravity 0.2 is this, and for 1 is 10. So this can be done. Now the final part for today is functions. Function, as the name is saying, just like sine functions, cos functions, the same thing is done in this Python also. Instead of writing code again and again, we can create a function that will take some input values, and whenever we want to do the calculation on those input values, just we have to call that function only. We don't need to write a certain codes. Like you have prepared a good example of this is like you have prepared a code for IPR calculation, for bottom hole calculation at a certain point, IPR calculation. So you can, in place of writing that code again and again, just define a function of IPR and write that code under that IPR function. And the next time you want to get outputs for that function, you just need to call the IPR function and give the inputs in that. It will automatically calculate that. We will see how it works. Like this, the first example is a very basic example to start the functions. Like this, syntax is, first of all, we need to define a function. Yes, a function that names something a b c d extra something. What will that do? Like here I have defined a function named function. So whenever I write function anywhere, it will print use of function. So in the next step, you can see that I am calling this function. This thing, the writing the name of the function at somewhere, this thing is known as calling the function. So I called the function here by just writing the name function. So it will print use of function, right? So here I have not taken any input parameters. I have defined the function which will not have any input parameters. But if you want to define function that will do some calculation or something, you can add the input parameters. Like here, I have made a add function by just defining a add function, giving the input variables x and y, and this will return me a x plus y array. So whenever I call this add function anywhere in my Jupyter notebook, and give inputs as 2 and 3, what it will do, it will give me output of their addition. So it will give me 5. Yeah, and one important thing is this, that once we return from a function, once we have written this return thing, after this line, no code will be executed. It stop being executed. Any code written below this return will never be executed. Like here I have defined a function xyz that will return me x by y plus z, and I have written a print command below this return value that print hello. So it, like here I have used the function f. I have given the value of x plus x by z, but it will not print hello. The code will not be executed below this return below the return thing. Okay. So again, the same case we have taken above, the API gravity calculation. Let us make a API gravity calculation function. So what I have done here, that I have defined a function that will give me API gravity on specific gravity. This x will, the input for this function will be specific gravity. So again that it will calculate the API and give me a print of the API gravity. And I use this round thing. This is used for rounding of the API. or rounding off the any number. For rounding of any number, you can use this round thing. So after defining this function, now I want to calculate that what will be my API gravity for a oil of having specific gravity of 0.9. I just need to write this API and give input of the specific gravity. Like I have given here API 0.9. This will give me the output as API gravity is 26. So you guys can can use this function a lot by just open your Tariq Ahmed and the second chapter. I think the second chapter is there, fluid properties. Just make functions of those fluid properties and try to practice with them. That will be really helpful for you guys. Now here comes a thing called as lambda function. These are single line functions. These are not like these main functions where we are defining and getting return or anything. Only we can write a single line for defining a function and doing calculations. Sometimes these are useful, but I will prefer to use the main functions only, as you can get confused in lambda functions. But yeah, you can see here that I have made this API calculation as a lambda function. This can be done in one line only, just using this lambda thing. Syntax is just name the function whatever you want. API lambda I have named here, and here I just wrote lambda, and after that I write the value of input that will be taken x, and after that what it will do, what it will return, it will return me 140 the API calculation it will return. So this 3-line function can be converted to 1 line by using lambda function only. So whenever I will use my API lambda at 0.9, it will give me the value of lambda. It will give the value of my API at specific gravity of 0.9. Now, the last thing for today is list comprehension. Just like this list comprehension is just like a lambda function for lists. You can quickly make a list in one line only. That will obey some certain rules. Like here, I want to make a list of cubes up to 0.5, up to the number 5. So this list can be made by using list comprehension. I have written that I have made square brackets outside, and I have written I to the power 3 for I in range 5. Range means that it will have the values from 0 to 5, whatever you want to give. If you give here 10, then it will give us output of cubes from 0 to 10. You can also use if condition in list comprehensions. Like I want to get a list of squares squares of even values. So what I have done, I have written this I square for I in range 0 to I in range 10. If I divide by 2 double equal to 0, so it will give me output of 0 even square value. Yeah. That's for my from my side. Any questions? Hello. Yeah, and one more thing I want to mention that we are using Jupyter Notebook for this course. My voice is getting Jupyter Notebook for this course. So you can also use Google Colab. That is a very simple IDE provided by Google. Just search Google Colab in Google. The first thing will come across. You can use it. You can make your notebook here. Like just write new notebook. This new notebook will be made, and you can do all the things that we have done here in this Google Colab notebook. Or otherwise, you can also download Anaconda. That will have a Jupyter Notebook ID in that. You can download that from Anaconda site. Product individual edition. And this one is a free version. You can download this. After that, we're installing this Anaconda Navigator. Like this will be open. From here, you can launch Jupyter Notebook. This type of thing is. Yeah. Any questions?
If anyone has any question regarding the session, they can ask. I guess we don't have any questions. Anyone
Yeah,
can ask. And
I think students are very intelligent. Great.
yes. Okay. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank everyone for their patience. It was a splendid session. Thank you for your time, sir. And thank you, everyone. And here comes the end of today's session. We would be resuming tomorrow at 6 p.m. So everyone can now leave the meeting. Best wishes to you all.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Enjoy your day. Bye.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
बहुत बढ़िया था सर, थैंक यू.